Welcome to How to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Top 10 Disappointing Cards 2025.
Chapter 1.
Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about the disappointing cards for 2025. And you'll discover why I feel these cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That have come out in sets were disappointing to us as players when they came out. With that being said, let's get on with the rest of the video.
Chapter 2.
Okay, so let's talk about it. As you see in front of you at number 10, Clockwork Knight, coming out in Supreme Darkness. Clockwork Knight. We had a continuous spell, which was Clockwork Knight. This continuous spell gave you the ability to make all your opponent's monsters machines, meaning that you could contact fuse with the Cyber Dragon for a cyber dragon fusion. That was pretty cool. And when the continuous spell would enter the graveyard, you could search, Regulus, Therion Regulus, which was an Omni Negate. Now, with the link, obviously being able to search the continuous spell and being able to just give decks the ability to just have a free Omni Negate, the community, rightfully so, was, especially us as a community, were really had a lot of expectations for this card. And so far, Clockwork Knight has failed to meet expectations and has been a disappointing flop. While, yes, we can say it is being used right now in, we can say, K9, Crystron K9, but considering the levels of this card, considering the power of this card, and considering that in just 2024, a card like this would have done absolutely wonders and done some damage to the game. Yes, I know it can be argued that there is the Fiendsmith package, but still, there was a lot of potential here. Players had the right expectations, but these expectations were dashed. So at number 10, Clockwork Knight really does showcase, while it is used, yes, it showcases just how disappointing it really was. We expected more, and it just didn't deliver. And that's about it. Let's go on to the next slide.
Chapter 3.
And here we have it. At number 9, we have Saint Azamina. Now, Saint Azamina, when this card came out again in Supreme Darkness, we had Snake Eyes and we had Azamina. Snake Eyes had been hit, obviously, and Original Silver Spoils, or otherwise known as OSS, was banned the previous year, which is 2024. Now, with this Saint Azamina card, and with the fact that we had Ryziel, and also in this set, Ryziel came late 2024. We had Ryziel coming out, and that was, we knew, projected to be the best deck for 2025. And we have a fact that in this set, there was Eclipse Wyvern that came out, which could, had effects in the graveyard. We had a lot of effects, right? A lot of archetypes that utilized the graveyard at this point. Even Mitsurugi that came out utilized the graveyard. In fact, the graveyard was being utilized a lot by a lot of decks. So Saint Azamina in this card effect was definitely something that a lot of players in the community, we expected that Azamina or Snake Eyes would come back again in full force. Snake Eyes has, again, could be mixed with Fiendsmith package pretty easily. This was an engine that has done wonders in 2024, and it could do wonders yet again. Yes, OSS was banned, but that doesn't mean numbers are numbers, and results that have done things before could be doing it again. So the expectations were perfectly understandable. You have a card that prevents graveyard interaction for the opponent, right? Stopping Mitsurugi, stopping Ryziel, with Eclipse Wyvern. So again, there was a lot of expectation. But what happened? Absolutely failed, right? And Saint Azamina is something that was very disappointing. At number 9, it's disappointing. Why did it fail? We don't know. I think most players, maybe it can be that Snake Eyes losing OSS was really that painful and really was something that Snake Eye couldn't recover from. I mean, I feel like Azamina got a lot of support here. Snake Eyes got a lot of support here with in the Supreme Darkness, but I guess it just wasn't enough, and it is a bit of a shame. Definitely disappointing, and this is a bit high on. This is more disappointing because there was that expectation again from us as a player base that it would do more, be more, but it just didn't cut it. Let's move on.
Chapter 4.
And here we have it. At number 8, we have Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. Again, once again, coming out in Supreme Darkness again. These are all really good cards coming out in the beginning of the year. So you look at Snake Eyes Doom Dragon, and we look at this card, and wow, oh wow, there's just so much to this card that's great. First of all, it's easy to get out, right? It's a boss monster that's easy to get out. It puts monsters in the spell and trap zone, right? A unique way of removal that has been untapped in Yu-Gi-Oh! While Snake Eyes Doom Dragon does this, again, Snake Eyes Doom Dragon does this as well. So much potential, so much hype. And again, this is without reason, right? This is a very good reason why this card was going to do wonders for Snake Eyes. Again, combined with Saint Azamina, these were cards that were looking at Snake Eyes was looking pretty good. And I ain't gonna lie, I was looking at Snake Eyes and thinking like, yeah, Snake Eyes is gonna do pretty good. You've got Snake Eyes Doom Dragon, there's just a lot here. Quality over quantity. They can stop the graveyard. They've got an Omni Negate. They've got a way to remove cards that not any deck in the game can deal with. Because I don't think there's any deck in the game that can deal with you putting a spell and trap, putting a monster in a spell and trap zone, right? Very unique, just extremely annoying, right? And it just avoids a lot of nonsense. But again, it just failed to deliver. It was, again, a very disappointing card, as it just didn't deliver. And Snake Eyes Doom Dragon, unfortunately, has faded into obscurity. While, yes, you can say that it was in Rogue, but when it comes to the competitive scene in Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's just nowhere to be seen. Just nowhere to be seen, right? Which is, again, a damn shame. But there we go.
Chapter 5.
And here we have it. At number 7, we have Juraishin, the Cursed Thunder God. I believe when this came out in Alliance Insight, there was a lot of speculation by the player base. This was a card that was seen to be just going to be a good card. Remember, we don't have a lot of boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! At the moment. Omni Negates in TCG are practically gone. Board wipes are there. We just don't have a lot of them in monster form. While we do have, so this was unique. Juraishin was a way to win in time before the time rules changed, obviously. And there's just a lot of potential here that we saw as a player base that it could do something. As a community, in TCG especially, we saw this card doing something. We saw that there was a home in this index, possibly in the side, possibly somewhere. But what happened to Juraishin? It just faded from the spotlight, and we just don't see this card in side decks or in decks at all. I mean, yes, it was in OCG for a bit. In TCG, I think it was there for a little bit, but it hasn't really succeeded, and it's been a massive disappointment, I would say, for the expectations as a community we had for this card. And I think it's something that is, can we say understandable? I think it's understandable, but it's a bit of a shame because it is disappointing. I mean, we did have expectations. These expectations were reasonable. It was a card that you could make in time. It was a card that, again, you could gain life points. You could blow either your spells and traps. It was a lightning storm in a monster. There is a lot of plussing here, so yeah. I guess it is what it is. Let's move on.
Chapter
And
6.
here at number 6, we have Duke of Demise. Now, Duke of Demise coming in the Maze of Masters set. This is a card when it came out this year. And I think when it was advertised, we as a player base had we had a lot of expectations for this card. First of all, this is a card that is an additional summon, right? Let's bear that in mind. And in the Fiendsmith package, it's extension. It's not just its extension, giving an additional summon. It could be used for for the typical same lines as the Fiendsmith package does, or you could just branch and do other things with the zombie line. The heeds of potential that we saw in this card, we saw loads of potential. We saw endless ways, endless pathways, and just the possibilities were endless. But for all the glory and all the things we saw for Duke of Demise, I can honestly say Duke of Demise is disappointing. It's we rarely see this in extra decks. It's just not there. The current it goes to show just how good the Fiendsmith package is that you don't really need to add something like Duke of Demise in there. And while yes, Duke of Demise is a good effect and it does give an additional summon, which again is not a bad effect. Like, let me get this straight. Like a lot of cards which are disappointing for 2025. These are very good effects. These are not bad effects. Similar to a Clockwork Knight, that link one. Again, these are really good effects, but unfortunately, disappointment comes in various forms. And Duke of Demise, with a sexy level, sexy type, and everything going for it, failed to deliver and is a complete disappointment in 2025 in sixth place. There was more that was expected from this card, but it just didn't deliver.
Chapter 7.
In fifth place, we have Sky Striker Ace Zero. Now, I look at this card coming out in the battles in is it Duelist Advanced set? And you look at this card, and we had Sky Striker cards that had come out before this year. A lot of hype was with Sky Strikers for good reason. Because Sky Strikers again has a history of just being really good. Engage is at 3. All the Sky Strikers are at 3. Fantastic support. Loads of things going. The expectations were extremely high. But what happened to Sky Striker A0 the moment it entered the TCG? In OCG, Sky Strikers did quite well. In TCG, it's done absolutely nothing. Again, I would say it's a disappointment. Very disappointing. And while yes, we can say because again we have Yummy, right? Yummy uses Sky Striker. So why is this? Maybe this card is used in Yummy. I don't think so. I think they use Link once. Again, the potential is there. The ceiling is there. Yet why is this card just not delivering? I think it's something as a community, it's definitely disappointing, right? The expectations for Sky Strikers was high, but it wasn't reasonable. Sky Striker has performed well before with less, and it's at full power, right? We are in a lower ceiling format. Again, in TCG, we do not have Omni Negates. They're not nearly as prevalent as TCG. Yet in OCG, Sky Striker performed. Yet in TCG, just barely performed, even though the environment should theoretically be better. So yeah, this hurt, I think, the community quite a bit when this hasn't performed. It's definitely pretty sad. Orcus did perform in TCG, but yeah, this is very disappointing, and I think hits players' hearts that much harder as to why it didn't perform. Let's move on.
Chapter 8.
At number 4, we have Evil Twin Kai Sikil Deal. You look at it, first of all, it's a Link 1. And it's a fiend. And it's a light fiend. You know what that means. Fiendsmith Slop. First of all, this is a link one for Evil Twin, right? This is something that rightfully so the community had high expectations for Evil Twin. Evil Twin could access the Fiendsmith package with the greatest of ease now, and I think that was something that was very warranted. There was a lot of variants of Evil Twin, which again are very good. Evil Twin has not been a bad deck by any stretch of the imagination. The expectations were reasonable. Evil Twin had the resources. This was the time to deliver. You've got a good link one, not a broken one, but a good link one. You've got a good engine. You've got a good extra deck that you can utilize. You've got good variants. You've got variants. You have strategy. Everything at your disposal. Yet with everything handed in a silver platter, Evil Twin has failed to deliver. And it's extremely disappointing coming at 5th place, right? Really, really disappointing. Wow, guys. Extremely disappointing. And it's something that it really, really hurts. I think at 4th place, it really hurts. It hurts a lot. It hurts deeply. I think this is a disappointment that hurt the player base, that hurt the community extremely deeply, especially. We have a lot of Fiendsmith packages that have been in TCG, but the fact that Evil Twin, Fiendsmith, has just failed to deliver on the regional side, on the YCS side, and just every metric has failed to deliver is absolutely criminal, because the recipe for success is there. The stars have aligned, and yet Evil Twin still fails. As they say, disappointment comes in many forms. Let's move on.
Chapter 9.
At number 3, we have Gordian Slicer. I think I've talked about this in this card in Missed Potential, but we have this card yet again. Now, this is a card again that the expectations are reasonable. It is a board breaker, right? So let's go through the community's analysis of this card. Now, the expectations are reasonable. Yes, it is a fact that you do have to sacrifice extra deck space, but given that you can OTK a player in just 1 turn or less, this is a card that essentially can allow you to OTK, right? Floodgates be damned, board presence be damned. You can just clear up the board and go straight for game. The ingredients for greatness are right there. And the fact that we have floodgates, even though floodgates can be said to be banned, again, we've not had a board breaker that is just so open and so free like this. Dark Rune of Remor has a kind of restriction. Lightning Storm has a restriction. Evenly has a restriction. You look at all the board breakers we have, there's some kind of restriction, right? Or even if it doesn't have a restriction, right, you can still interact with that board breaker. Gordian Slicer being the only board breaker your opponent cannot interact with, reeks of so much potential. So it is rightfully so that the community looks at this card and it would be decent. At least we would see it in the side decks, right? Yet, in 2025, this card is nowhere to be seen. Since its release in Alliance Insight, Gordian Slicer is extremely disappointing, as it's perfectly understandable why I think players expected this. And maybe not all, but there was an expectation that it could be in the side deck, at least, right? But it's just not there. And it's a shame. Like, for example, in a format now when we have, you would think with, for example, Yummy and Canine and Draco Tail, right? These boards that are made with the current 3 best decks are not exactly, big, right? Or have loads of negates to them. So surely a Gordian Slicer in the side in game 2 could do wonders, right? You draw it going second, you just slice the opponent's board given its effects, and just go for game. Simple, easy, and just all around great. But yeah, it's disappointing how this card just failed to deliver. It's disappointing for the player base, for the power of this card, and for everything that has happened. But as we said, disappointment comes in many forms, and this is just one of them.
Chapter 10.
At number two, we have Zilofthonia Gorgon. Now, we look at Gorgon, and the expectations for this card were pretty high. I mean, we have IP Masquerada, right? You could theoretically, not theoretically, but intentionally go to this card going second. There's again, it's something that could be got to make a strong board. Remember, we don't have negates in TCG, so the prospect of being able to go into this card in your opponent's turn looks pretty good. While, yes, there is, again, people would say a lot to be desired, but again, looking at it, and looking at TCG as a whole, there was some reasonable expectations for this card. It was expected to be in the side at least for a lot of decks. So it was expected to be there, but guess what? It just wasn't there. This is disappointing. Very disappointing, and I think it's hit the community. I would say a bit hard. I would say it's reasonable. Again, I mean, we had a lower power decks that are out there, so it was expected, to be there. But it is what it is. And then we'll go to the number one spot. And when I talk about the most disappointing card of 2025 in Yu-Gi-Oh, you will be shocked. But it will come as no surprise. And so we will go to the number one slot. And in first place, it's Abao. There is no justice in this world. What is going on? How has Abao failed to make waves? Is absolutely insane. The disappointment is real. Justice isn't fair. This is a card built for greatness. Let's read Abao again. Read that effect. Let's read it. Okay? During the main phase quick effect, you can discard a card and target and activate one of these effects. Destroy one card on the field. Ban this card until the end phase, and if you do, special summon one light or dark monster from your graveyard. During your standby phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of different monster types among the monsters in your graveyard, then place the same number of cards from your hand on the bottom of the deck in any order. You can only use each effect of Abao Aq to Lightless Shadow once per turn. Abao isn't just disappointing on the level of its power, but disappointing that it's just not in decks. The community's reaction to this card was, I remember when it was first premiered and first announced, was like mind blowing. Like they expected to see this card everywhere. And indeed, we all had this thought. Again, yes, the materials are not so generic, but the effect is not just pretty good, is downright game breaking. Destroying a card, being able to revive a light or dark from the graveyard. Again, light or dark attributes being the most supported types in Yu-Gi-Oh! The potential is high, and it's a Fiend Monster, so you could go into it after you've done your Fiendsmith nonsense. Bro, you could revive Fiendsmith Desiree. Oh, the nonsense, bro! I'm telling you, right? There was the ceiling, the everything was just, the stars aligned, everything aligned. Abao was there to make our dreams a reality. Yet, in late 2025, where is Abao in extra decks? Where is it? Where is it in the side? Where is this card anywhere? It is an absolute failure. Disappointment to huge degrees. I weep for Abao. As if this was 2024, we would see this card everywhere. What went wrong is a question I ask all the time when it comes to justice for Abao. Hashtag Abao justice. Put her in your extra deck, please. What went wrong? Get that hashtag trending. But the point is, A bow is missing in our lives, in our decks, everywhere. And and with its effect on everything that I've talked about, the fact that this card is nowhere to be seen in 2025 is absolutely criminal and insane. And it is for that reason she is the most disappointing card of 2025 in Yu-Gi-Oh! Without question, right? And I think that is the end. With that, I'll head on to the conclusion.
Final chapter.
And so here we are at the end. And all I've got to say is that the first place, I bet, was a card that you didn't expect. I bet it was a card that you thought that, it's in a lot of extra decks, right? But you'll be surprised. A bow is just not there, right? Some of these cards over there, like, there's understand. You can understand to a certain degree. But a bow not being in an extra deck, not even mentioned in the side, is downright criminal. Downright criminal. Hashtag justice for a bow. Oh my days. Where's the lady at? Where's your link girl? Where's your link girl at? Where is a bow? Where is she in your extra deck? Give a bow space in your extra deck. God damn it, guys. Anyways, right. All I've got to say is that these cards are what I consider the disappointing cards for Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2025. And I think that's all I've got to say in this video. Tune in next time as I talk about more things on this channel. Hope to see you soon.
We come to the end of this video. So, as I like to say, you are one step closer to becoming a Yu-Gi-Oh! Master. My fate, right, is in your hands.